We are.
Hey,
Okay.
hey, everybody. Welcome to another episode of Taco Tuesday, where we're discussing fitness, food, uh, good health, and just everything in between. Right? We're looking for success in every sense of your being, body, mind, spirit, and heart. I'm Nick.
And I'm Rebecca. And our purpose with these live talks is to give you some really good information, but we also give you some action items, but those come at the end. So make sure you stick around to get that information.
Yes, action. Action makes change, right? I'm Brandon. If you don't know me yet, now you do. If you're with us live on Facebook, give us a thumbs up. Let us know you're here. Drop a comment. If you are not with us on Facebook and you're listening from a streaming platform, come over and join us. Drop the Fat, Not the Tacos is the name of our group, one of our groups on Facebook. If you're interested in our coaching group, that is Clean Club. And if you want more info on that, you can always drop us a line. Even if you don't want more info on that, you can drop us a line. Please reach out. But
Just say
yeah, just to say hi.
Yeah.
How's the weather? It is definitely a better experience, though, if you can join us in one of our groups so you can ask us questions and be part of the discussion.
Yes.
What are we
talking? We are going to be talking a lot about growth this month in our Clean Club. So it makes sense for us to be having a conversation about it today. Growth is a very important part of life for all of us, and it looks differently for different people. It's uncomfortable, it's emotional, it's not fun to change, and yet it is so incredibly essential to our progress. If you look at the person I was, for example, 4 years ago, I looked very different, I sound very different, and not only was my life very different, but I, as a person and a human being, was fundamentally very different. Taking a glance back and, kind of reliving the hard work I did to make all these changes I needed to do to grow as a person. And looking back, I can be really proud of all the hard work I did because it was a lot. And there has been significant growth in my life just in the last 4 years. And not all of it, in fact, most of it was not growth that I would describe as fun. It was hard. It was frustrating, and it was full of setbacks. I was told something a few years ago, which was right around this time that I started this journey that I didn't even realize I was on yet. And I'm still on a journey for personal development and growth. And, it stuck with me because it's true. And this is kind of how this little saying goes. Change can be messy and ugly in the beginning, very messy in the middle, and beautiful in the end.
Certainly. Yeah. Yeah, agreed. Change and growth is definitely not always pretty.
No.
But yeah, I think the beginning is, it's the obvious place to start. But it's where we tend to get stuck, right? It's like that inertia thing, stuck before we even start. There's always something that initiates growth, right? Something's made us uncomfortable. Desire to change something about ourselves or around us, perhaps, or we find ourselves, in a circumstance that forces us to grow or change as a person. A lot of personal growth starts at the bottom, right? Rock bottom. Sometimes we got to bounce off the bottom to get that start, and it's hard. And you're right. Change can be really ugly in the beginning. Something comes to your attention or is brought to your attention, or you find yourself in the middle of something, that you may not have seen yourself getting into. Most of us didn't start our journey going like, yeah, I'm gonna looking forward to that rock bottom one day. Here you are. It's usually, pretty unforeseen, or maybe, you see it coming from a mile away and you're powerless to do anything about it. When we meet with clients for the first time, especially, right, they have big changes they want to make. And honestly, a lot of the time that change, it has to do with weight or something.
Mhm.
But that's just right. That's just the symptom,
Mhm.
right? And what we know quickly and we discover is that there's, a lot more lurking beneath the surface there, right? That needs to change. We can't just change the weight, right?
Mhm.
Mindset and habits and processes are usually the big ones, right? That's usually what we've got to really address. So, and those things are not easy to do, right? Losing weight, honestly, yeah, I mean, I'm not going to say losing weight is easy, but we've it can be done in 6 weeks, right? It can be done in a certain amount of time, but that's not what keeps it off, right? That's not what
Right.
really creates the change, right? And these other things are tough, and if you're in a place where you're examining your life, to figure that out and assess what changes need to be made, can feel overwhelming, right? And emotional, frustrating, trying to figure out how to get started, right?
Mhm.
Definitely. Yeah, no, like just taking that first step, right? Getting started, like what you just said, that can be daunting, right? If somebody doesn't know what the first step should be, that can be incredibly overwhelming,
Totally.
and that could be the hardest part of everything that we do. So a great way to get started, right? In my opinion, and I think we do a pretty good job of this with everybody we speak to. The very first thing we uncover is what it is that you want to accomplish, right? And then right behind it, the same conversation. Why do you want to accomplish that thing? What is the driving factor behind that?
Yeah.
Right. Okay. So yeah, you mentioned losing weight. So why?
Yeah.
Why do you want to lose weight? There's more than just the number that we want to see go down, right?
Right.
So the more specific that you are, the more that you can visualize what's happening at the end of the tunnel,
Right.
the better. Be clear. Have a
Yeah.
solid understanding of what it is that you want to do and why it's important to you.
Yeah.
So,
What's it really gonna do?
maybe, I'm sorry, what?
I said, what's it really going to do for your life?
Exactly. What do you want your health to do? You've said that before. What do you want your health to do for you? Why is this important? So maybe somebody has an event coming up, right? And you want to feel strong for it. Maybe you want to feel confident in a room full of people when you walk in the door. Maybe you just want to keep up with your kids or your grandkids or your brother when he's hiking that mountain trail. Those are serious goals, and there's a reason behind those goals. That's the reason. And so to ask yourself why it's important to yourself, and having a solid reason for growth is what leads into strong roots. So that when you go through the process, that those roots are still feeding you, and it makes it easier for you to stay on track.
Yeah, absolutely. I think that's an important thing to ask people right now. I mean, because we lose track of it really quickly. Sorry to interrupt.
No, this is perfect, man. It's a perfect time to interrupt.
Really, like if you're if you're watching or listening, and if you can in the comments, tell us, what is it that how do you want to feel?
Mhm.
How do you want to feel at any given moment? Maybe it's dependent on certain times, right? I've had that feeling, like I want to feel like super confident when I walk into a room of other professionals in my field. That's been a big deal for me a few times, or whatever it might be. I want to feel proud when I meet up with my friends or whatever, right? I want to hear those things. They're important. It's important to put them out there.
Yeah.
Right.
Okay, back to our scheduled program.
So what was your question there? Just to clarify, what was your question there?
Yeah, what is it that you want from your health? Let's put it that way. How do you want to feel?
Well, so talking on the path of growth, keep in mind that you don't always set out with the intention for growth. There's also those times that it just finds you, life sneaks in. And I got to a point in 2015 where I had never been so unhappy and uncomfortable with the way I looked. And I intentionally set out on a mission to lose weight. And the goal for myself was at least 20 pounds to get back to being comfortable in my own body. I mean, I'm a tiny person and I was quite a bit overweight. And I wanted a healthier life that wasn't full of embarrassment after climbing like a short flight of stairs and being winded, when a few years ago I was dancing around and moving my bodies in ways that flowed with music. And, you know, now I felt like the Stay Puffed Marshmallow Man, and like I had the grace of a rhinoceros. I didn't feel like myself anymore. And that's depressing. It doesn't matter what I look like to everybody else. That's what I felt like. And what I didn't know was going to happen was that in just a couple years after that of starting, my world was going to be thrown upside down, and there would be a very unintentional pause on anything I was doing for my desired goals and to do any growth for myself. And, you know, growth that the universe felt was vital for my development, or whatever you want to call it, was stepping in and would force me to put things I wanted to do on hold and shift gears for a period of time that was shifting away from where I thought I was going with my growth. And it made me really sad, and it made me really angry. And I was pissed because I felt like I had failed and I didn't reach my goals, and I was never going to reach my goals. And now life is just running away from me, and I'm not moving forward. I'm not growing. I'm just staying right here and not doing anything.
Yeah, I think a lot of times people look at the way what's happening in their lives. They think about it and they believe in the way that you just described, right? I have to be moving forward all the time, 100% of the time. I have to be doing something right. I need that constant forward momentum. It's just like that post in the group, right? And honestly, I really liked the conversation that pursued from that post.
Totally.
Because that's not necessarily the case. You don't have to have, and I think a lot of times people get mixed up. I'm not going to go off on a tangent here, but sometimes there's more than one way of growth, right?
Right.
And sometimes we need that pause, right? It's not a linear process. It's not a straight up line. We're not always going in the right direction. Sometimes there's ups and downs and backward steps in order for us to continue to learn and understand what's working and what's not working. And so sometimes growth looks differently depending on where you are on the journey. And we as individuals, we have to be able to have some patience with ourselves and have patience with the process and have some trust in the process, as long as we're continuing to keep the intention of moving forward.
The intention.
So, yeah, the intention is super important, right? Just as important as understanding why we want to accomplish what we want to accomplish, right? And so growth can come in tons of forms. It can come in so many forms. We can go down that list, right? But we don't need to, because it's literally any part of your world growth can happen in. And being able to see that and then celebrate it with just yourself or with somebody else, I think that's really important. And so, you might have to be able to tell yourself that you're not making significant enough progress right now, but you need to understand that that's okay, right? You might be stuck right now, and that's okay. We're not all moving forward all the time. It's okay to have a pause. So did you, maybe you had something happened and you got knocked down, and you need to take a step back to reassess where you're at right now so that you can keep moving forward. That's okay. That's allowed to happen. Actually, we encourage it.
Yeah.
Right. Sometimes it happens. Sometimes you get knocked down. Sometimes you have to take that step back. Otherwise, you get stuck. If you're constantly thinking, I have to, you're going to get stuck. You're going to get pushed yourself into a rut. So sometimes taking it from a new perspective is exactly what we need.
Sometimes it's the most important part. I think sometimes that's the most important kind of growth, right? Like Rebecca, looking back on that period of time in your life where you were really forced outside of your goals and what you were looking to accomplish, but and it was a serious, it was a major life-changing thing. And setback. I know setback, right? Setback, big air quotes, right? But I know from conversations, so I was going to ask you the question, but I know, right, how much really incredible growth came from that, right? It's given you a perspective.
Absolutely.
That is going to allow you to help tons of people. It's already allowing you to help a lot of people.
Exactly.
Right? Without that experience, it wouldn't be there. I'm not a like everything happens for a reason person. I'm not. But I do truly believe that some of our greatest blessings come from our hardest times and the worst things that happen to us. And yeah, it's painful, you know, and we don't see it, right? It's kind of like, you know, like a tree during the winter. Some of the most important growth that happens, you don't see any of it because it's happening underground.
Mm-hmm.
Right?
Those are great analogy.
Thanks. I made that up just now. I'm sure somebody else made it up before.
It's good, man. I don't care where it came from. It's good.
So yeah, I mean that getting knocked down, that's what it feels like, right? The setbacks, right? Air quotes for those of you who are not watching. But yeah, the setbacks, the getting knocked down, the failures, right? Those are that's our perception. And I get it. It's how it feels. I know that feeling 100%. I really do. But those are often opportunities for us to step back and reevaluate and change our perspective where you are, right? It's perhaps they're an obstacle, and it does, you know, give us a moment to change direction. Right? You're going to find yourself needing to stop and evaluate where you are from time to time, how far you've come, what you need to change in light of new circumstances or new information. We can't map our whole journey from the beginning, right?
Right.
If we could, we'd all be kicking ass 100% of the time, all the time, right? Who knows what we're going to encounter out there?
Yeah.
You didn't see your biggest opportunity for growth coming, nor did you recognize it as your biggest opportunity for growth.
Yeah, no.
Right? So those times to map out your next move, make sure you're not looking at what happened as a failure.
Mm-hmm. You know? Which is easier said than done. But if you can take it from that outside perspective and say, okay, you know what did I learn from this? Then you can move forward.
Yeah, that's what it is. It's a learning opportunity. And you know,
I love the phrase learning opportunity. It's so true.
Yeah, it is. It is. I mean, if you have kids, you're saying that stuff all the time because that's what kids do, right? They screw up, they fail, they drop shit, you know, they make mistakes. And what do we tell them? We're not like, failure.
You suck.
Right? You suck, loser.
You're never going to make it in this world. You just never.
Right? How many times have you said that kind of shit to yourself, though?
It's true.
Right? Very true.
Right.
Comparison also right next to it. Yep. Comparison, comparing yourself to other people. It's brutal.
Yeah. Rebecca's doing it. Why can't I do this?
Yep.
Right. Comparing my insides to someone else's outsides. It's the worst. The worst. Right. Yeah. Most of us can clean up and look pretty good on paper. What's going on here? Right. No one sees the circus. Right? So, very true. But it is. It's tough, and we all come with our own like baggage, right? Like, I mean, I don't know. I know for me as a man, growing up when I did, right, I've always felt this pressure to smash my obstacles, right? Crush it and conquer it. That's what you're supposed to do. That's taking care of business. Right. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Like I need, and that kind of killer instinct, right, has served me in some places in my life. But it also taught me for a really long time that if I'm not overcoming, if I'm not stacking wins, I'm failing and I'm weak. Mm-hmm. Right. Poisonous. Right. That's poisonous. It took me a long time to figure out that not only is it's just simply not true, but it's toxic to me and everyone around me. And it's a dangerous mindset, right? To define our successes by whether or not we're dominating everything we encounter.
Mm-hmm.
It's not how our success.
That reminds me a lot. It makes me think of toxic positivity too, where you're always positive, you're always pushing through, you're always overcoming obstacles. And sometimes that can work against us. There are messy parts to change. I mean, it's emotional. You are full of those, taking a couple steps back and reassessing, not to mention all the judgment from outside sources, right? We're not even talking about the inside sources yet. So don't be judgmental towards yourself because everybody else is. And acknowledge the feelings and the emotions as you grow. Learn from those things that make you take a couple steps back and reassess. I'm not going to use the word setback anymore because it's not a setback. And you'll lose that perception of being a very heavy air quotes here, if you're listening, failure, because you're not a failure. And it's okay to work on a skill or a habit or a process for just a hot minute if you need to. And we're not sharks. It's okay to stop moving and figure things out. Be patient with yourself. They're called growing pains for a reason, right, Nick? Let's not suffer any more than we have to by torturing ourselves emotionally as we go through these growing pains.
Totally.
100%. Yeah. We've definitely all have some things that have happened in the past, right? That has either allowed us or maybe propelled us to move forward and to be able to grow as a person, as long as we have the ability to see it and have that, like you were talking about, a learning opportunity, Brandon. If you have the ability to view those things as learning opportunities, right? And when those things happened, if you think about it, did you feel uncomfortable? I think you have to feel uncomfortable in order to move forward. So was it worth it? Now that you see how far you've come and you've learned how all the things that you have, and I'm guessing all the time, every time that you're uncomfortable, you're moving forward. So my personal answer to that is yes. For everybody, yes, it is going to be a yes, as long as you can understand and admit and accept the fact that, okay, maybe it wasn't so great in the moment, but now I learned something from that experience. So you have to get comfortable, I think, being uncomfortable, right? And that notion and accepting that is what's going to help us propel forward. And it's all about adaptation, right? So how we handle the obstacles that come our way and how we view that obstacle and our agreements that we make with ourselves. It's all a part of growth. It might not be the most exciting or the most fun thing in the world, but that's how we learn and that's how we grow. And that's how we take that next step by expanding that comfort zone.
Yep. See, I told you it's messy in the middle.
Definitely.
Yeah, definitely. And Rebecca, I guarantee you, right. And all of us, I think, if we were, if I were to ask you, would you change any of those things that were so awful at the time, right? Did you change that experience though?
Not now. I mean, in the moment, I wish they didn't happen, but no, not now.
Right. And, I mean, that's a cliche. And maybe that's, maybe that's even kind of feeding into that. It's okay to hate that stuff.
Oh yeah. There's still things I hate, but I wouldn't change them.
Right. And I know, you had a hard time with that as well. If I can speak a little more on your experience. I know there was a lot of guilt around like feeling the way you felt, right? I shouldn't feel this way, right? It's no one else's fault, right? Yeah. And we have those things, but there's also no shame in embracing how you feel and feeling angry about those things and going through that. Sometimes we got to walk through it for sure.
That's feeling those emotions and feeling them and being okay with them and going, okay, right now, this is how I feel. And that's okay. No judgment, no criticism, just this is how I'm feeling and be okay with that moment and realize something is coming from it.
Right. Something is coming from it. Totally. Right. Because how sweet is it kind of on the other end? Right.
So much better on the other end.
Right. And would it feel that good if it had been easy?
No.
Right. right? That's where the feeling of accomplishment comes from, and so anyway, I don't know, maybe I'm verging on the edge of that toxic positivity. All your suffering is worth it. Whatever.
It has to be turned into that suffering, that negativity has to be turned into positivity. I don't think that's toxic. I think the three of us have been through things that have allowed us to move forward and to have that growth and to have that understanding that where we once were doesn't mean that's where we're always going to stay.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, absolutely.
The right kind of positivity is knowing that you're going to grow and you're going to change from this, not going, it's okay, just dust yourself off and try again. This is okay, and this is a learning opportunity here, and that's a big difference.
Yeah, you're dirty and muddy. It sucks. It really does.
And sometimes being dirty and muddy is fun.
Yeah.
After the event is over.
But sometimes, we're getting dragged through it, and it's okay to feel that and be mad at that and to have feelings about that. That's kind of what I'm getting at, because, the feeling of being accomplished or proud of what you achieved after that, after being dragged through it, is a beautiful thing. And the reason for all the hard work, right? It's still there. But one thing you'll come to discover, I think, is once you start working on that personal development and growth, you don't ever really feel like you've stopped all the time, right? You've hit obstacles. You're not stopped. And I think that's just a matter of mindset, right? I'm not stopped. I'm working around something, but that is still growing. And there was, like you brought up earlier, the quote that we posted in the group the other day. I think I have it right here. The important thing is that we must be constantly moving forward, right? The progressive realization of a predetermined goal, and our growth should never end. I don't think
you realize I sounded like a drill sergeant.
Well, you know what? I think the spirit of it is great.
It is, yeah. But that's also leads into that level of positivity that maybe doesn't have a lot of room for, doesn't allow for error.
Right. We're not always moving forward, right? It's kind of like, I'm moving forward now. I'm going this way, and I've got to kind of loop back around and go this way. And, it's not always forward, but the general trend.
There you go.
It's upward. But it takes stepping back and changing your perspective to see that, right? We don't see it when we're in it. It doesn't mean that constantly moving forward, but having a balance, right, of keeping your eye on that growth, right? Knowing what direction you're going. And, I think it's always being curious and open-minded to the next step, right? Redefining how you view growth. Sometimes not moving forward is growth. Sometimes we have to take that step back, regroup, make a new plan before we keep moving forward. That is still growth.
Yeah. And when you're in, like we talked about earlier, when you're in that pause, that moment of solitude, and you're contemplating what's next, that is another level of growth mentally. It allows you to have that level.
Agreed. There's a lot that goes with that.
It's all still growth. So which leads into another point that we were talking about the other day. It's allowed to stop and allow yourself, I think Rebecca said this already, allow yourself to feel what you're feeling and accept it. There's a lot of stuff that comes with growth and moving forward, and all of them are okay. It can be emotional, it could be mental, it could be literally physical, it could be other things in your world that doesn't have anything to do with you, but it's also putting a halt on your progress. Just remember that the moment that you're in right now is temporary. Okay, we're about to get into some cliche type stuff. It won't last forever. Okay,
right.
And, the this too shall pass. That's true. Oh. It is true. I don't want to be part of the cliche thing, but
it's true.
It's totally true. And you got to embrace that. You have to embrace that. And it's part of the process. It's part of learning and growing and putting something behind you that maybe was a huge obstacle for a long time and understanding that you're now past that. And sometimes it takes a little while for other people to get past it than another. And that's what I'm saying. It's just, sometimes it can be cliche to say, but it doesn't make it less true.
Yeah. Hell, you don't even have to embrace it. Still true.
Yeah.
I was going to say, I have to tell you, like, not to harp on it or anything, but if I had $1 for every time in the last 2 years alone that somebody said to me, just remember this won't last for forever, I wanted to equally punch them in their face and give them a hug at the same time and be like, thank you for reminding me. And no shit, it's not going to last forever, but it feels like it is. You know, it's hard, but you need to keep telling yourself and you need to keep hearing it. It's temporary. It will not last for forever. Nothing does.
Yep.
It's totally true.
Sorry I punched you when you said it. No,
okay,
I'm ready to hug.
Yeah. So I don't know. I think being open and honest with yourself and with other people really allows for you to be open to your next phase of growth, right? And once you do that, then you're open to people and information that can help you along that journey. Yeah. So we were actually in prep for this talk. We mentioned this yesterday. The way that you're thinking is what you've been doing your whole life, right? And maybe that hasn't worked for you.
Yeah.
So without the input of other people, sometimes nothing can happen.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
And that was, go ahead.
I was going to say, it's hard to grow alone.
Mm-hmm.
It is. Yeah. And that was so true in my own experience. You know, I know, Rebecca, you talked a little bit about yours. You know, I was in a place where I was ready to be literally done. I was ready to be done. And, it finally came down to the other people in my world and their levels of insight that weren't necessarily where I needed to hear at the moment. But in time, I was able to learn from what they were having to say. And so being able to embrace advice and other people's insight and their perspectives on the matter, and even their coaching, right? So as coaches, I have to put that out there. But that's what makes a community so powerful, is being able to lean on other people and learn from other people and move forward with the insight from other people. And okay, so last thing, as I just thought of it, frequently, I do believe people need to hear things more than once.
Yeah.
I don't know about over and over again, but like from time to time, like frequently,
or in different
ways.
ways.
Something you already know, having that community that you can lean on for that kind of support that I was just talking about, no matter what that community looks like, is so important. Which is why we always say and tell people, come join us, because we want you to come join us. We want you to be a part of what we're trying to create.
Yeah. And it's pretty true. I mean, from my opinion, I can only say from my opinion that the very hardest part of growth is changing how we look at things, how we look at people, and our mindset, Nick, in general. You know, that's why we need someone else's perspective. That's why, Nick, as you mentioned yesterday, we read, we seek out information. Community is important to help us find those resources. And a lot of times, especially in the last few months working with you guys, I often look back on the path I've been traveling on for my health and, my fitness journey. I remember the 2 years of, I can do it on my own. I don't need anybody's help, and making absolutely zero progress. And then there's the comparison of when I had someone or several people giving me guidance or coaching, times when I had a community or a people support structure of some kind, emotional awareness. And what I mean by that is like, ooh, now I know how this feels. Like, this feels good. And I feel it now. And I know what I'm working towards. It's not just an idea. I feel it. Also some motivation, and my very, very, very favorite combination, which is where I am lucky enough to be since I found the two of you, is all of the above. I have my people, I have my resources, I have my accountability. I've got that good support structure underneath me, which is why I've been able to continue to be so successful. And we're all human beings. We're social creatures, whether you're introverted like Nick and I, or not. We're social creatures and we need each other. And it's really cool to see how in us creating the Clean Club, we did that to create a community for our clients. But what it's done for me is it's added to my support community and made my journey a lot easier and a lot more enjoyable. So just saying, that's just for me.
Yeah. Some of the people in there. Yeah. I mean, as coaches, we're human too. I think you bring up a really good point. When you're a coach, there's sort of this like pressure to always present this perfect, like, I know exactly what I'm doing all the time. Just as I can say it to somebody else doesn't mean that I'm always successful at putting it into practice, for sure. And I have really been thinking about that lately, how much people posting in the Clean Club and sharing and being vulnerable, like, dude, yeah, Nick, I mean, that's it, right? Like, that hits you, right? And that really helps me move forward. And hearing their perspective, right? Again, as a coach, you're kind of like, well, I know what I'm doing, right? I read about this, or I studied this, or whatever. But you have to hear things maybe more times than once, or you just need to hear something a different way, or whatever. And so hearing it from that perspective, that other perspective, right, from someone who's in it, really inspires me a lot of the time. Nick, like you said earlier, what you said, I said, someone said it to me, right?
Oh my God.
Much wiser than myself, right? It's a really long game of telephone. But
that's how it works, though.
We can't outthink our own thinking. Like, our thinking is what got us where we are a lot of the time. So is our thinking going to fix a problem that our thinking created? Right? That's where the community and other perspectives are just so valuable. My thinking will keep me where I am, right? Because that's what brought me there.
Exactly.
We have to change that perspective. All right. We've been going for a while here. Nick, did you have something to say on that?
No. Well, yeah. So it happens to be the agreements that we have created with ourselves that can be undone by somebody else's understanding, or just like literally sometimes one post be like, whoa, I never even thought of that.
Totally.
I can't believe that's the way it works. And that can be really, instrumental in somebody else's life. It is in mine. Absolutely. Like, I'm not the most active in the Clean Club, but when I do go in there pretty much every day, and I see those things, and it means something to me that people are doing something with the things that we're creating, and that's big. And
100%.
To see it being implemented it feels good.
Yeah, and what a difference it makes.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
For them. And sometimes I need to hear my own advice. And I won't. I don't hear it when I say it, right? I have to hear it from somebody.
It's true, man.
Yeah. So, as you would say, Rebecca, why don't we recap? It's recap time.
My favorite time. Recap time.
So let's see. Some action items you can take away now are. Let's see. We talked about like allowing yourself to feel what you're feeling. I think that's one of the biggest takeaways for me. In terms of your growth, you got to feel it. You got to feel it. And that's okay. You've got to walk through it. Judgment.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. The why, Nick, is that what you wanted to?
Yeah. Setting the intention and having an understanding why.
Staying connected to your why. Yeah. Growth kind of comes from that, right? That's sort of sort of the seed, right? That's the seed. Everything grows from that why. I just touched for a moment, judgment, self-judgment, judging yourself by
none of that.
People. Yeah, zero of that. And that's hard. That's a really tough, I do it in the most, in a million different.
We all do it. We're human.
Yeah. Tiny moments every day. Right. But catch yourself, and be kind to yourself. Try to speak to yourself like you would speak to another person. What our good friend Trina says, like a child, right? Speak to yourself like you would speak to a child sometimes, right? Nurture yourself. You deserve that. That's a whole other topic.
And we're jumping into a whole nother ball of wax right there.
Yeah, our next talk starts in 5 minutes. It's all going to be on self-nurturing. It'll be another 45 minutes. So yeah, don't judge yourself. Be patient with yourself. I know it's easier said than done. Curiosity and being open-minded about the next step and other perspectives. Right? Inviting other perspectives. It's a hard thing to do, right? I know what I need to do. Why is somebody telling me to do something different? If I can just do it. Be open-minded about that next step, right? And be curious. And I think most importantly is recognizing what you cannot control. And dropping it, letting it go, let it be what it is. Whole other topic in itself again.
As Brandon would say, drop it or be dragged.
Yeah, let go or be dragged. Yeah, you'll some of our viewers and listeners may recognize that. Yeah, that's it though. That's it. I think those are the major ones for me.
For sure. So Brandon, what are we talking about next week?
Next week. Well, I really like when we leave this to our viewers and listeners, right, in our community. Right. So I'll post the question. I'll put it in the Clean Club. Let you guys fight over that. in the DFNT group, the Drop the Fat Not the Tacos group, this evening. I'll ask you guys, what do you guys want to hear us discuss? I think in relation to our sort of our overarching topic for the month, right? Growth, right? Because that's what it's all about. It doesn't matter what I want to talk about if it doesn't answer your guys' questions. So, I think we usually have a pretty good idea of what you guys want to hear. But let's leave it to you guys. I want to make sure we answer your questions. So jump in this evening, okay? Get into the group and let us know what you think, and one of us will probably reach out and say hi as well. And just because we like to. Or if you're listening or watching right now, get in there right now. Post, get ahead of the game. Go ahead and post and tell us what you want to hear about. And if you're not in the community yet, then what the hell are you waiting for? Get in.
Seriously, what the heck?
That's the Drop the Fat Not the Tacos in Facebook. It has
or Clean Club. You could just come join us in Clean Club if you want. That's cool too.
Yeah, get in there. If you want to really be part of the discussion. We have our coaching call this Thursday with everyone as well, so you can get on Zoom with us and really direct the conversation and boss us around.
Bring your burning questions.
Questions, burning desires. But you can't interact if you're not with us in one of these places. So come on in and be part of a place where we lift each other up, and that's the whole thing, is to walk each other right through these journeys, whatever they may be. They're different for all of us, of course, but I think the commonality is that we are all trying to grow. And that's what we're in there doing together. It's a beautiful thing. On that note, thank you, everyone who is there and everyone who's listening and watching and interacting with us and being part of that, lifting other people up. We appreciate it and we love you.
See you guys next week.
All right, guys, we are out of here. I forgot that I'm the one who has to end it today. All right, I'm going to click.
Bye.